Hi everyone, welcome to this week's market review. Pat here. We're going to be taking a look at the crypto market along with some other indexes like gold, MicroStrategy, coins like Ethereum, Aster, Pump Fund, and a few more. So let's get into the video. Before I start, I just want to remind you this video is for informational purposes only and reflects my personal views. It's not financial advice, and always consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. So going to whiz through this market review today, not too much to talk about, and obviously the market has been taking a hit, at least in terms of Bitcoin. Altcoins have been relatively, I wouldn't say strong, but just not responding to the sell pressure that Bitcoin has been doing. Obviously, a lot of altcoins have, bounced from that 10-10 sort of move and then have been bleeding back out, but the majority of them are sort of like holding around some higher time frame support and are showing a bit of a bounce. Meanwhile, we're seeing this like very aggressive sell-off from Bitcoin, right? And it's been nothing short of pretty terrible for bulls for this move. It's offered next to no bounces to the downside and has been really difficult to try and find a place that we are going to bottom. So currently I'm in a long position on BTC from 92,900 with an invalidation just under 89k. I do think this is a good place to start local bottoming. I'm trying a little long here, and also with my spot invalidation that I was buying through summer, my invalidation right now remains below that 89k region. Personally, I don't see much reason why I want to risk on the market, especially Bitcoin, if we can't hold this 90k area. I think it gets really ugly below there, so we'll talk about that a bit more. But in terms of the price action, we got that weekly close back under 102k, which right now, is not great. I've been waiting for this weekly level to get broken, this weekly monthly level, right? If we go onto the monthly level, that monthly level at 102,400, which technically, we could say is still intact. Because the monthly is not closed yet, we still have about 2 weeks till the monthly close, because there is chance of some sort of miracle move that puts us back above 102k within the monthly close. As of right now, it does seem very unlikely that we're going to get that scenario, but we can't write off we can't write that off, and until the monthly close below here, then I don't think it's worth jumping the gun. But we can look at the lower time frame and say, okay, the weekly has now broken this support on 102k, and now we're retesting 92k, and after a breakdown below here, it gets really ugly, and we're going to target sub 80k and probably back down towards Sailor's entry, which I want to talk about a little bit shortly as well. So like I said, I am long here, looking for a move up and a relief bounce, at least to get an exit of my spot. That's if my spot position doesn't get taken under 90k first. And this is like I said, my spot position from buying through summer. So to comment on like BTC, right? So we have the yearly open, which we're currently trading below at 93,400. And something I noticed was that we've had 1, 2, 3 bullish candles, followed by a bear market candle, and then 1, 2, 3 bullish candles, followed by a bear market candle, and then 1, 2 bullish candles, followed by what is currently looking like a bearish candle, right? As we are trading below this prior yearly open, or yearly close, if you want to say that, a January 25 open and December 24 close, right? So if we did close below that yearly open, that's going to be a big shift, and something we have never seen from the crypto market before is when we don't have 3 consecutive bullish years, right? And anything under that yearly open is going to be considered a bearish candle, and which is pretty crazy when you look at it, right? This is the yearly open is back here, back towards 93,400, like I said. And overall, we had that deviation below and the deviation above, and we're back to where we started, and we've reset. We're back to point 0. So that's really interesting to think about, and something to consider, that it could be a selling point in the fact that if we're going off, or a buying point in that term, if we're going off the prior trend, then would this yearly close bullish, right? And if that was the case, then that's going to be yes and above 93,400. Quickly to interrupt the video, if you are enjoying, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Posting daily content in the Wealth Group Discord, along with weekly content here on the YouTube. Get access to the Discord, you can click the link at the top of the description. We have options for both card pay and crypto pay. I'm posting daily trades there, weekly market reports, daily streams, and much more. So hopefully see you guys around. To the video. So discussing the value areas for a quick second, back inside this prior weekly val, which is looking quite good so far, but we have to see how New York opens in 25 minutes. We can see right now we are trading below this prior weekly val, right, which was last week that key pivot for Bitcoin, and now we're trading back inside our developing weekly value area low. So Overall, if we are going to see some relief this week, I'm fairly sure it's going to come off this reclaim. I'm deviating back below 90k. We're going to start making fresh lows again, and it's going to be interesting to see whether this selling continues to happen. Whoever is selling has a lot of it and is continuing to do so. Right now, we're seeing a cumulative returns in the New York session of minus 13% over the past month, with the EU just being slightly above that, and the Asia session being plus 2% on the last month. So a lot of the selling is coming through New York and through EU. So we find that they start selling early into the EU and then through New York session as well. This seller, whoever they may be. We look at the weekly, we got a weekly buy signal on BTC, the first buy signal we've had since our November 22 lows. Two other cases we've had buy signals was back in December 19 and back in March 2020. So this is something to consider here. And if we don't bottom off this buy signal, that's a very bad signal, right? That's a bad look for the market. Sometimes the signals can be just as telling when they do work out to equally when they don't work out, and the buy signal of this significance on the higher time frame, on this weekly time frame into the quarterly VWAP, that's very telling. If this does not play out, that's going to be very telling of the weakness in the market, and we're going to likely continue to bleed out, like I said, sub 80 to sub 70. So in terms of a local bottom, it does look good here, and I do think it makes sense to look for a local bottom around here for a move up. At least I am. Until we get that break below 90k, I think we should be looking for a bottom. Under 90k, I don't have interest in being a buyer on Bitcoin anymore, and I will exit my spot position. So yeah, I'm in this current long as well from 92,800, looking for a move to 96 to 98k this week for ATP, which would be great. Another chart which I have a good buy signal on is the 3-day on the MicroStrategy chart. We can see down here we're printing buy signals, and historically it's been a pretty good indication for a bottom on the MicroStrategy chart, which doesn't directly lead to a bottom exactly on the BTC chart, but it gets pretty damn close to it. We can see May 22 bottom, and also March 2020 along with July 2019, and then equally our March 25 bottom on the MicroStrategy chart was the bottom on the BTC chart as well. So strong buy signal coming in on MicroStrategy, and yeah, that kind of just adds to my theory that the market could be bottoming around here, at least a local bottom, especially with a lot of talk right now on Sailor being blown out, right? There's so much talk right now of Sailor blowing up, of the market going on the Sailor sideways entry, which usually when this comments start to float about, you'll find that the market does a local bottom. At least I've seen this in the past. Maybe times have changed since then, but it's something to consider. Again, using sentiment in the market is a pretty good way of gauging the direction in the near term. And something like people talking about price going under Sailor's entry and Sailor blowing up, you'll find that happens a lot as we get down towards the lows and at least towards a local bottom. Gold, this will be important for BTC. I think if gold can continue to chop and BTC does manage to find some sort of bottom, then this can be good, as long as we stay in this sort of like range as it's done time and time again, right? We sort of like have this base area, rally, base, rally, base, rally, base, rally, base. So if we can form some sort of range up here on gold, it could be positive for Bitcoin in the near term. But mostly participants are waiting for the Fed decision going into December, as that is likely one of the main reasons. We've seen a lot of risk off from the crypto markets, and big participants selling right now is based on the Fed's thoughts going into December. The BTC gold chart currently right now has a weekly buy divergence. The last buy divergence it had was back into our August and September bottom, you can see here, and this looks nice for a bottom. Time and time again, this has marked a place for a reversal on Bitcoin gold chart. We can see the Z score getting down into this minus 2.65 area in two occasions back in March 2020, November 22, and equally here towards this October low as well. And now we're forming a nice buy signal. Again, it brings me back to what I was saying about the fact that if buy signals, even for sell signals, it works the same way. But if you have a system and that system is, correct, let's say 80-90% of the time, and that 20% of the time, 10 or 20% of the time, that system is not right, that's kind of just as telling as that 80% that it is right, in terms that you have a high hit rate and a high probability that system is going to work. The time that it doesn't, that means the market is very much against you, and it means the market is probably very weak in terms of Okay, my chart didn't bounce here. My system told me we were going to bounce and we didn't. That means the trend is strong. So keep that in mind. If this doesn't play out over the next week or so, then we are going to continue to see this Bitcoin gold chart underperform and probably trade down into sort of like the $16 area. Finally, on to ETH. I don't really have too much to comment on ETH right now. The DATs are heavily underwater. You could see Tom Lee's average entry right now is around 4,007, which is crazy. They've bought up to nearly 500k ETH in the past month, and that's 500k ETH, not 500k USDT, equivalent of around like 1.5 billion, I think it was. So heavily underwater, a lot of these ETH DATs, and it's not something I have particular interest in buying. If you follow me on Twitter or follow me in the Wealth Group Discord, you make sure you check out the socials to do that. And we sold our ETH spot into that bounce last week, which was great. Managed to minimize my ETH spot for about a 9% loss instead of what it was going to be, about a 20% loss down here. So I'm happy with an exit on our ETH spot position. And until ETH sees a big rotation or a big reclaim higher above 3,600 or a move down towards 2,600 or 2,400, I don't have much interest in being an ETH buyer. A couple altcoins I got my eyes on this week for a long. First one is going to be Aster, looking for a short into 147, and that looks like a good spot to look for a reversal. We'll be posting all my trade ideas as normal in the Wealth Group Discord. Equally, Pump Fund gave me a nice buy signal into the low. If Pump did go down to like 0.002, I think that looks like a good spot to get long. Or equally, if it gives me another buy signal into this developing weekly value area low, I will consider a long entry on it this week as we trade into the developing yearly val and also trying to break down onto this developing quarterly value area low. Not too fond of looking at altcoin longs really until I'm convinced that Bitcoin has bottomed, which, you know, right now I'm entirely unsure. It depends on how the weekly goes this week. I think this week, if we don't see a bounce, it's going to be very telling of the market, and we're going to see much further downside over the course of the year, likely into December until a rate cut. Continue to short altcoins. This has been offsetting my losses a lot, playing altcoins downside, shorting a lot of these scam coins. It's offsetted my spot, and we've been hedging our spot bag on BTC nicely within the Wealth Group Discord. That's pretty much going to do it for this week's market review. Like I said, wanted to whiz through it this week. Not too much to comment on. Buy signals on the weekly and the higher time frame are really important for us to keep an eye on right now. A break below 90k, then I'm fairly sure we're going a sub 80. And yeah, right now, only place I'm willing to look for a local bottom is around here. Otherwise, I won't be catching a move lower. Continuing to short altcoins, keep an eye on MicroStrategy for a bottom. Equally, the gold BTC or the BTC gold chart for a bottom as well. And that's going to do it for this week's episode. And I will catch you guys tomorrow on Twitch if you want to join along. I'm live with Impulse. We'll be streaming, trading, and rambling about charts. So see you then. Bye-bye.